Hi guys, today we're going to talk a little bit about text structures and you're going to be filling in notes as I go along. I know it kind of stinks to be taking notes while there's a sub, but in order for us to stay on track and make sure that we have our classwork assignments on time, this is the best option. So it'll be a fun, different way to take notes and hopefully it'll work well. So while I go along, fill in the notes. All of the things that you need to write down are underlined for your convenience. And just remember, we're going to have a graded classwork assignment on Friday or Monday with this. So please be sure to write down any questions that you might have so that you can ask me when I get back. All right, so we're going to talk about text structures today. So first, we're going to talk about what a text structure is. So when you think about a structure, it's typically a building or a framework. So a text structure refers to how a piece of text is built. So how does the author create the text? What pieces and parts do they put together in order to make a text? They are the parts that make up a text. All right, so similar to builders who can use different kinds of structures to build different things, writers can too. So a skyscraper, for example, is a different kind of structure than a house. A skyscraper is big and tall. A house is normally cute and little. So they use different types of things in order to build these structures. So writers use different structures to build their ideas. It's a little bit more of a abstract way of thinking, but each text structure communicates new ideas in a different way. So writers use these various text structures in order to communicate their ideas. There are 5 different types of text structures we're going to talk about today. The first is chronological order, which I'm sure you guys have probably heard of before, especially in history when we're talking about timelines. The next is generalization or principle, which I know we've had a few questions on, especially with our warm-ups, the reading comprehensions, but we're going to talk about that more later. Compare and contrast, which I'm sure you guys have heard of. Cause and effect. And then problem and solution. So these are the 5 types of text structures that we're going to talk about today. And they're the 5 types of text structures that that authors use to build their texts, specifically nonfiction texts. All right, so chronological order. Authors use chronological order to explain how things happen in order. All right, so it's a list of things and when they happen. Chronological order is also a class sequence or time order, so like events in history or what happens next, explaining the time order of something. All right, there are various clue words that come in chronological order. So these words can help you when you're reading a text identify that that author is using chronological order. And these are words like first, next, later, then, finally. So anything first, second, third, a lot of times in this year or the next year. So whatever tells you that something is happening within an order. All right, so we're going to go ahead and practice. So you have this text on your note. So I want you to first look through and find the different types of chronological order clue words. All right, so most often you'll see chronological order in directions, and this is an example of some directions. Have you ever made mac and cheese? It's simple. First, boil some water, then make some macaroni. Then, make your cheese sauce. After the cheese sauce is ready, mix it with the macaroni. Bake the entire thing in the oven. Finally, it's time to eat. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to circle the different clue words. All right, so the first clue word that I see is first. So you know that this is the first step in making macaroni and cheese. Now, I wouldn't really recommend making macaroni and cheese like this, but the next one I see is then. All right, so first you boil some water, make some macaroni. Then you make your cheese sauce. So you know that cheese sauce comes after making the macaroni. All right, another one that was probably pretty tricky to find is after the cheese sauce is ready is technically a chronological order word. Not necessarily a clue word, after probably would be, but after the cheese sauce is ready tells us that only after we make our cheese sauce do we mix it with the macaroni. You don't mix it with the macaroni while you're making the cheese sauce. That doesn't make any sense. And then the last step, which makes us know that this is over, is finally. So that's another one of our clue words. Make sure that you have all of those circled or underlined or whatever you want to do. All right, next we're going to talk about generalization or principle. All right, we're going to refer to it as generalization in this class. So generalization is a general statement followed by supporting ideas or arguments. So one broad statement that has ideas that support it. So for example, candy is bad for your health. That is your broad statement. Then too much sugar can cause tooth decay. That is one supporting idea. Eating candy instead of healthy food can cause you to be obese or fat. All right, so that's another one that is a supporting detail. And eating too many sugary foods can increase the chances for type 2 diabetes. So again, there's the broad statement, candy is bad for your health, and then the three supporting ideas. All right, so here's another practice. While I'm reading, I want you to be looking for the clue words or not the clue words, but I want you to be looking for the general statement and the supporting ideas. All right, so if there was ever to be a nuclear war, probably the cockroaches would prevail. The lethal dose for animals in a pasture, so like pasture animals, is 180 rads or gamma radiation. For horses, it is 350 rads. Water is a shield for radiation, so the lethal dose for fish is from 1,100 rads to 5,600. The dose for humans is not known. No one has been tested to date, but around 600 is the guess. Cockroaches who were exposed to 830 rads live to be a ripe old age. All right, so while I'm reading, you should have underlined or identified the general statement and the supporting details. So let's take a look at it. This is talking about if there were radiation poisoning. So, right, if there was ever a nuclear war, probably the cockroaches would prevail. That would be our general statement. They are saying that they think cockroaches are going to win. They're going to live forever even if there's a nuclear war. And all of the supporting details that are given are things like lethal dose for animals is 180 rads, horses 350, lethal dose for fish is 1,100, humans is not known but around 600. All right, so it gives you a bunch of different ideas and shows you that cockroaches who are exposed to this really high radiation level are still able to live to an old age. So make sure that you have the general statement identified and the supporting details.